In the continuation of the story, Lin Dong advanced to the second round of the Great Yin Empire's seed selection, where he encountered the royal family's Huang Puing. Despite being a formidable opponent, Huang Puing was no match for Lin Dong. Within the Grand Hall, Lin Dong stood calmly, observing Huang Puing, whose aura had significantly weakened after the heavy blow he had just suffered. The injuries were severe, and in his current state, Huang Puing posed no further threat to Lin Dong. "You've lost." Lin Dong glanced at Huang Puing, who was struggling to rise from the ground, and spoke indifferently. Without lingering any longer, he turned and walked toward the bronze gate leading to the final round. Huang Puing, his face pale, leaned against a stone pillar, watching Lin Dong's retreating figure with a grim expression. However, he wisely chose not to act recklessly again. His once proud stealth techniques had proven useless against Lin Dong, and in a direct confrontation, he was clearly outmatched. This seed selection brought together the absolute elites from various factions, and as such, strict rules were in place to prevent fatal injuries during the battles. This was to avoid inciting conflicts among these powerful factions. Of course, while killing was forbidden, Huang Puing knew that if he pushed his luck, Lin Dong might very well leave him with a painful lesson, stopping just short of taking his life. "Lin Dong, I'll admit you're quite skilled, but let me tell you this, your abilities are nowhere near enough to pursue Ling Qingzhu." Huang Puing sneered, his voice laced with bitterness, as he leaned against the pillar, staring at Lin Dong's back. Lin Dong paused briefly, then replied coolly, "Do you really think I wouldn't dare to kill you? I'm just telling you the truth. Besides, I'm well aware that I'm even less qualified than you are." Huang Puing seemed unbothered by the hint of killing intent in Lin Dong's words. Instead, he exhaled a long breath, his voice tinged with bitterness. "You have no idea who she truly is. Compared to her, we're just ants struggling to climb in this eastern Xian region. Here in the Great Yin Empire, we consider ourselves geniuses, but on her level, that title is nothing but a joke. Lin Dong, you're capable, but I advise you to know your limits. Some things are simply beyond our reach." Lin Dong stood motionless for a moment before slowly turning to look at Huang Puing. The arrogance that had once been on his face had completely vanished. He stared at Huang Puing for a long time before saying slowly, "In this world, nothing is impossible. 2 years ago, I was a nobody. Now, I can stand here and fight against the so-called prodigies of this empire. No matter how high her status might be, I won't give up on what I believe in. I'm different from you. I have more determination. If you truly want to become stronger, this mindset of yours will never make you a true powerhouse. Only those who are fearless can be considered true powerhouses." As Lin Dong's calm voice faded, he turned away and walked through the slowly opening bronze gate, gradually disappearing from Huang Puing's sight. "Only those who are fearless can be considered true powerhouses," Huang Puing murmured to himself, watching Lin Dong's disappearing figure. After a moment, he let out a bitter laugh. "It's easy to say, but far harder to achieve. How many people in this world can truly be without fear? Haha, congratulations, clan leader Lin Fan. Who would have thought that Lin Dong was so powerful? He even managed to completely subdue Huang Puing of the Huangpu clan. Lin Langtian has also passed the second round. It seems your Lin Clan is almost certain to secure a spot this time." On the high platform outside the main hall, the leaders of various factions watched the conclusion of the match on the glowing screen, offering their congratulations to Lin Fan. There was a hint of envy in their words. Lin Fan responded with smiles and thanks, his joy evident. The current situation had exceeded his expectations. Both Lin Dong and Lin Langtian had successfully passed the second round. Now, as long as one of them could make it through the final round, the Lin Clan would truly secure a spot. "Hee Lin Fan, it seems your Lin Clan has been quite fortunate this time, producing 2 such outstanding talents," remarked Mo Jingtian, dressed in imperial robes, as he approached. His gaze shifted from the screen showing Lin Dong's match, with a trace of surprise in his eyes. Huang Puing's strength might not have been the best, but his unique techniques were extremely troublesome. Yet, Lin Dong had defeated him with such ease, indicating considerable strength. "Your Majesty flatters us." Although Lin Dong and Lin Langtian have some small abilities, they are far from being on par with the third prince. In these 2 rounds, no opponent could last 20 exchanges against him. With such strength, I can only hope Lindong and Lin Langtian don't have to face him, Lin Fan said with a smile. Haha, if you don't want to face the third prince, then let's see if you have the luck to meet Wang Zhong instead. 20 years ago, your Lin Clan lost the spot to our Wang Clan, and I'm sure you were quite dissatisfied. This time, let's see if you have the luck to settle that score, came a sudden burst of laughter from the side. Lin Fan frowned and turned to see Wang Lei of the Wang Clan, who had somehow joined the conversation. Wang Lei, the results aren't final yet. It's not wise to celebrate too early, Lin Fan said calmly. Wang Lei merely smiled, full of confidence. In these 2 rounds, Wang Zhong had also passed effortlessly, leaving no doubt in Wang Lei's mind that their Wang Clan had already secured at least half of the spot. As long as Wang Zhong didn't face the third prince in the final round, he was likely to have a strong chance of winning and securing one of the 5 spots. Seeing Wang Lei's confident demeanor, a trace of anger flickered in Lin Fan's eyes. 20 years ago, the Lin Clan had faced the Wang Clan in the final round and lost in a fierce battle, handing over the precious spot to them. Because of that loss, the Wang Clan's arrogance had only grown over the past 20 years. If they secured the spot again this time, their arrogance would likely increase even more. However, Lin Fan also knew that Wang Zhong was indeed very strong. Among the younger generation competing, there weren't many who could confidently claim to surpass him. As for the final outcome, it might depend on luck. All 10 of the finalists were the creme de la creme. Lin Fan had noticed earlier that aside from Lin Dong and Lin Langtian, there were 5 other exceptionally strong contenders. These 5 were strong competitors for the spot, and whether Lin Dong or Lin Langtian faced any of them, it would undoubtedly be a brutal battle. In a spacious corridor, faint footsteps echoed as Lin Dong walked unhurriedly toward the end, where a tightly closed golden door awaited. With each step, Lin Dong's aura surged like a rising tide. He was adjusting his state of mind. The upcoming round would be the final match of the seed selection, and it would determine the allocation of the spots. This match was the one that truly mattered. Lin Dong knew full well that his opponent in this final round would be incredibly difficult to deal with. To have made it through the first 2 rounds required absolute strength. In fact, it could be said that the 10 who had reached the 3rd round were the 10 strongest of the younger generation in the Great Yin Empire. The opponent he would face next might be the strongest young fighter Lin Dong had ever encountered, leaving no room for complacency. The sound of Lin Dong's steady footsteps echoed in the corridor, accompanied by waves of increasingly powerful Yuan power. At this moment, Lin Dong's aura had surged to its peak, his body brimming with energy, as if eagerly anticipating a battle that would truly make his blood boil. The powerful Yuan power swept through the corridor, and the golden door before him began to crack under the pressure. The cracks multiplied, and Lin Dong's aura reached its zenith. His eyes gleamed with golden light, swelling with a boiling fighting spirit. The golden door, unable to withstand the overwhelming pressure, finally shattered completely, sending countless golden fragments flying through the air in a dazzling display. As the door exploded, Lin Dong stepped forward and entered. His gaze immediately locked onto the center of the grand hall. The hall was majestic and imposing, but it failed to distract Lin Dong in the slightest. His focus was entirely on the figure seated at the center. Although the figure was silent and still, it felt as if the entire hall had fallen into a hush due to their presence. As the golden door burst open, the figure's tightly closed eyes slowly opened. Their gaze fell upon Lin Dong, and after a brief moment, a calm voice, devoid of any emotion, echoed through the hall. Lin Dong, your luck is quite unfortunate. Lin Dong's eyes were fixed on the figure as the Yuan power surrounding him surged to its peak. He responded slowly, that remains to be seen. At these words, the figure seemed to smile faintly before gradually turning around. His ordinary appearance caused Lin Dong's hands to clench tightly as he softly uttered 2 words. Wang Zhong. Lin Dong's final opponent was none other than Wang Zhong of the Wang Clan. 20 years ago, the Lin Clan had been defeated by the Wang Clan in the final round. Now, 20 years later, the 2 clans were fated to clash here once more, making one marvel at the hand of destiny. Haha, Lin fan. It seems that our Wang and Lin clans are truly destined rivals. On the high platform, as the onlookers observed the two figures on the glowing screen, they were momentarily stunned. Wang Lei couldn't help but burst into laughter. Beside Wang Lei, Wang Yan's face showed undisguised joy. His gaze, filled with a certain malice, lingered on the image of Lin Dong. Although Lin Dong had smoothly passed the first two rounds, Wang Yan had been thoroughly displeased. But now, all that displeasure had evaporated, replaced by an eagerness for the scene he had long dreamed of. From Lin Dong's previous two battles, Wang Yan knew just how much stronger Lin Dong had become over the past year. However, he was certain that this newfound strength would be nothing in the face of his elder brother, Wang Zhong. Of all people, Wang Yan knew best just how powerful his brother was. Damn it, I want to see how arrogant you can be after this. Wang Yan thought to himself with a cold sneer, eagerly anticipating Lin Dong's humiliating defeat. He was looking forward to seeing just how this person, who had been so arrogant, would handle being utterly crushed. As Wang Lei laughed, Lin Fan's brows furrowed slightly. Though he was displeased, he had nothing to say. Among all the competitors in this tournament, Wang Zhong's difficulty level was definitely in the top 3. For Lindong to face him in the final round was indeed extremely unfortunate. It was easy to imagine that their encounter would lead to an exceptionally fierce battle. Having witnessed the earlier fight between Lindong and Lin Langtian, Lin Fan had a decent understanding of Lindong's formidable strength, but even so, defeating Wang Zhong would be no easy task. While Lin Fan remained silent, the leaders of the other factions around him shook their heads slightly. Some of them even harbored a bit of schadenfreude. In their eyes, although Lindong had been making waves recently and had performed admirably in the earlier rounds, he still fell short when compared to someone like Wang Zhong, who had long been a renowned prodigy in the Great Yin Empire. It seemed that Lindong's impressive progress would end here. I originally thought I would face Lin Langtian, but it turns out to be you, Wang Zhong said, his gaze resting on Lindong. There was no trace of reaction to the powerful Yuan power surrounding Lindong as he spoke indifferently. If you faced him, you might indeed have a better chance of winning, Lindong replied with a slight smile, his eyes fixed on this unparalleled genius of the Wang clan. It seems you have a lot of confidence in your strength, Wang Zhong remarked with a hint of sarcasm in his otherwise plain expression. Over the years, it had become increasingly rare for someone of the younger generation to speak to him this way. When I fight, I never hold back. If you choose to walk away now, it might be the wisest choice for you. Wang Zhong's voice was calm, but it was filled with the Wang clan's characteristic arrogance and dominance. Given his reputation in the Great Yin Empire, it seemed he indeed had the right to be so domineering. To say something like that at this point, don't you think it's a bit foolish? Lindong chuckled lightly and shook his head slowly. Upon hearing Lindong's words, Wang Zhong's face showed no anger. Instead, he smiled, but a cold glint began to gather in his eyes. I knew what your choice would be, which is why I said what I did. You injured Wang Yin and insulted my Wang clan. I already promised Wang Yin that I would give him an answer. Now that we've met here, even if you wanted to retreat, I wouldn't give you the chance. Well then, I've also been curious to see just how powerful the so-called genius of the Wang clan truly is, Lin Dong replied with a slight smile, watching as Wang Zhong slowly shook his head, signaling that the time for probing each other had passed. I hope you won't disappoint me too much. Wang Zhong finally took a step forward, and as he did, the previously calm hall erupted as if a tidal wave had been unleashed. Overwhelming Yuan power surged from Wang Zhong's body, and the pressure it created was so immense that even a cultivator at the initial stage of the creation realm wouldn't dare to approach within several dozen feet of him. Completion of the creation realm? The moment Wang Zhong revealed his aura, Lin Dong knew that this man had indeed reached the completion stage of the creation realm. The geniuses of these clans, with access to their vast resources, advanced in strength far beyond the ordinary. Wang Zhong's foot slammed heavily onto the ground, causing the entire grand hall to tremble. Then, his figure shot upward, and with a powerful grip, he unleashed a surge of Yuan power. In the blink of an eye, it condensed into two massive golden platforms before him. These two golden platforms were incredibly solid and immense, appearing as if they were forged from pure gold, radiating an unbreakable aura. Lindong recognized this technique. It was the Wang clan's golden platform demon suppression palm. However, the power with which Wang Zhong executed it was leagues beyond what Wang Yin could muster. As the golden platforms materialized, they descended with a fierce and domineering force, aiming directly at Lin Dong. The sheer momentum behind them was enough to crush a cultivator at the initial stage of the creation realm with a single strike. However, despite his Yuan power being only at the initial stage of the creation realm, Lindong's combat strength far surpassed that level. He remained calm, and with a tremor of his body, a brilliant blazing sun rose from within him. He shot forward, his fists moving with lightning speed as they slammed into the descending golden platforms. A crisp sound of metal clashing echoed through the hall as the explosive force from Lindong's fists burst forth, shattering the two golden platforms into pieces. "Now you try this move." Lindong's eyes flashed coldly as he shattered the platforms with a single punch. With a swift hand movement, he condensed two golden platforms of his own, just as formidable as Wang Zhong's, and launched them back at him. Seeing the golden platforms hurtling toward him with oppressive force, Wang Zhong's brow furrowed slightly. With a flick of his fingers, two extremely sharp Yuan power beams shot out, tearing through the golden platforms with ease. However, just as the platforms were ripped apart, a shadowy figure darted out like a specter from behind them. Lin Dong, wielding an ancient halberd, moved fluidly, executing all four forms of the Heaven Scales halberd technique. In an instant, images of giant fish, enraged pythons, and golden dragons roared skyward, their fierce halberd winds enveloping Wang Zhong within a radius of dozens of feet. Facing Lin Dong's relentless assault, a cold smile flashed in Wang Zhong's eyes. He clenched his palm, and in an instant, dazzling Yuan power gathered in his grasp, forming a massive dark golden spear, several dozen feet long. The spear emitted a tyrannical wave of energy. As the giant spear took shape, Wang Zhong's palm slammed into the spear's shaft, causing it to spin rapidly. A dark golden streak shot across the hall, brutally tearing through the images of giant fish, enraged pythons, and golden dragons, and then darted toward Lin Dong with lightning speed. The golden light rapidly expanded in Lin Dong's pupils, and then he suddenly took a step forward. Two blazing suns rose once more within his arms, causing his arms to swell. With a powerful grasp, he reached forward with his palms. The golden light streaked past, but it was firmly caught by Lin Dong's hands. The friction between the golden light and his palms produced a sharp, grating sound. However, the terrifying impact gradually came to a halt, as Lin Dong managed to forcibly stop the massive golden spear with his bare hands. "Take it back." With raw strength, Lin Dong forcefully halted the golden spear's momentum, then spun his body and hurled it back at Wang Zhong with tremendous force. As the golden spear hurtled back toward him, Wang Zhong's brow furrowed slightly. He hadn't expected Lin Dong's strength to be so formidable. With a flick of his finger, the golden spear exploded into pieces just a dozen or so feet away from him, the powerful shockwave causing his robes to flutter wildly. The attacks between the two were incredibly fierce and violent, but it was clear that this level of exchange wasn't enough to determine a winner. Suspended in midair, Lin Dong looked at Wang Zhong and sneered, "Show some real skills." Attacks like this are an embarrassment to the so-called genius of the Wang clan. No wonder you could stand against Lin Langtian. You do have some skill, but this is where it ends, Wang Zhong replied with a faint smile, though the coldness in his eyes grew even more intense. He slowly extended his hand and clenched it tightly. Instantly, a thin red line appeared in his palm, which quickly expanded and condensed. In the blink of an eye, a blood-red spear with a sinister and domineering appearance took shape in his hand. As this blood-red spear, seemingly forged from pure blood, emerged, Wang Zhong's aura instantly became wild and fierce. Tiny red veins appeared in his eyes, giving him a terrifyingly eerie look. Blood Demon Shura Spear. When the fearsome blood spear appeared in Wang Zhong's hand, A wave of astonished exclamations erupted from the high platform outside the hall, where Lin Fan and the others were watching the scene unfold on the screen. Lin Fan's face turned grim as he looked over at Wang Lei, and he coldly said, "I didn't expect you to give Wang Zhong that thing. Aren't you afraid that the blood soul within the spear will backfire on him?" "I didn't give it to him." The blood demon Shura spear chose Wang Zhong itself. Only in his hands can this spear unleash its full power. "Haha, Lin Fan, it looks like your Lin Clan will have to hand over the spot to our Wang Clan once again." Wang Lei laughed heartily. Lin Fan's face twitched slightly, and his expression turned extremely dark. He hadn't anticipated that the Wang clan's notorious weapon would be tamed by Wang Zhong. This development meant that Wang Zhong's combat strength could instantly increase by several levels, making him capable of challenging even a peak creation realm expert. The upcoming battle could be very dangerous for Lin Dong. The blood-red light, as viscous as fresh blood, oozed from the sinister spear, filling the hall with a thick scent of blood. Blood Demon Shura Spear. Lin Dong's expression changed sharply when he saw the menacing blood spear in Wang Zhong's hand. A deep seriousness filled his eyes. Before coming here, he had learned quite a bit about the Wang clan, including their infamous weapon, the Blood Demon Shura Spear. It was said that the Blood Demon Shura Spear had been a treasure bestowed upon the Wang clan's ancestor by a super sect in ancient times. Although it was also an Earth-class spiritual treasure, it was infused with a malevolent aura. The artifact spirit within had been corrupted by bloodthirst over the years, transforming into a blood soul, a vicious and malevolent entity. Over the years, many of the Wang clan's powerful members had tried to tame it, but all had suffered backlash. One particularly unfortunate individual even lost his life in the process. Because of this, the spear's fearsome reputation had spread far and wide. Lin Dong hadn't expected that Wang Zhong would now wield it. "To force me to use the Blood Demon Shura Spear, you should feel no regret, even in defeat," Wang Zhong declared, gripping the blood spear tightly. Blood veins converged in his pupils, and his every word seemed to carry a heavy scent of blood. Under this influence, it felt as though the blood in one's body began to tremble and stir. Wang Zhong clearly didn't intend to give Lin Dong much time to react. He stomped the blood spear heavily onto the ground, instantly causing cracks to spread across the hard floor. A strange, buzzing sound wave emanated from the spear and rapidly expanded outward. When Lin Dong saw the eerie sound wave, his expression darkened slightly. He quickly realized that as the sound wave approached, his blood began to boil, as if it wanted to burst out of his body. What a sinister weapon, to be able to affect the blood within a person's body. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes. With a thought, a subtle devouring force emanated from his body, forcibly swallowing the invasive sound waves that had begun to infiltrate his body. As Lin Dong was resisting the eerie sound waves, the blood veins in Wang Zhong's eyes suddenly intensified, and in the next instant, his figure transformed into a streak of red light, dashing forward. The blood spear in his hand swept horizontally, its tip flashing like lightning as it formed countless sharp, chilling spear flowers, targeting Lin Dong's vital points. The fierce energy from the spear left deep gouges on the specially reinforced floor. Faced with Wang Zhong's ferocious assault, Lin Dong didn't dare to be careless. His ancient halberd danced through the air, creating a web of halberd shadows that intercepted the incoming spear flowers. The sharp clang of metal against metal rang continuously in the hall, as the two figures flickered like specters, with each clash generating a wild storm of energy. The two figures collided in midair once more, their fierce power radiating outwards. In the next moment, one of the figures was sent flying back a dozen meters before crashing into a massive stone pillar. It was Lin Dong. From the looks of it, Lin Dong had been slightly disadvantaged in the previous exchange. Wang Zhong's strength was indeed overwhelming. As Lin Dong landed against the pillar, he noticed a faint trace of blood on his ancient halberd. This blood energy began to seep into the halberd and even showed signs of trying to invade Lin Dong's body. It was evident that during their earlier clash, Wang Zhong's Blood Demon Shura Spear had secretly infused its sinister blood energy into Lin Dong's weapon. The spear's fearsome reputation was well-deserved. Lin Dong, with just your high-grade spiritual treasure, there's no way you can resist the blood energy of my blood demon Shura spear. Wang Zhong sneered as he observed the changes in Lin Dong's halberd. Blood energy like that is nothing difficult for me to handle. Lin Dong scoffed coldly. He extended his hand and wiped it over the halberd, unleashing the devouring power that swiftly consumed the eerie blood energy. Seeing this, Wang Zhong's brow furrowed slightly. The blood energy of the blood demon Shura spear was notoriously overpowering, capable of corroding Yuan power and even spiritual treasures. Even a master at the peak of the creation realm would find it troublesome to deal with. Yet, Lin Dong had so effortlessly neutralized it. Wang Zhong, puzzled, had no way of knowing that although the blood energy of his spear was indeed formidable, it was no match for the devouring ancestral symbol, a unique artifact in the world. After his attack was nullified, the blood veins in Wang Zhong's eyes grew more intense. He formed a hand seal, causing the blood energy around the blood demon Shura spear to rapidly swirl and condense. Before long, a sinister, blood-red eye materialized on the spear's shaft. As soon as the blood-red eye appeared, all the blood energy surrounding the spear seemed to rush into it. The eye emitted a blinding crimson light, and then a beam of blood-red light, no thicker than a thumb, shot out with terrifying speed, hurtling straight toward Lin Dong. The moment the blood-red beam appeared, the surrounding air seemed to instantly evaporate, creating a vacuum that made the beam's speed even more formidable. As the blood-red light rapidly expanded in Lin Dong's pupils, his expression became much more serious. Even he could sense the intense danger emanating from that beam. Without hesitation, Lin Dong opened his mouth, and a black light shot out, expanding in the wind until it became a mountain peak about 10 meters high. The black light flowed over the mountain's surface as it descended to intercept the blood-red beam. When the two forces collided, a violent wave of energy erupted, shattering several nearby stone pillars. An Earth-class spiritual treasure? Wang Zhong's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched the scene unfold. His gaze lingered on the black mountain, and after a moment, his body tensed as he recognized it. His voice carried a hint of astonishment. Is that the Lin Clan's heavy prison peak? That treasure has been uncontrollable for years, yet you've managed to tame it? If you can tame the blood demon Shura spear, why wouldn't I be able to tame the heavy prison peak? You've had your turn, now it's mine. Lin Dong sneered as he moved, appearing atop the heavy prison peak. Suddenly, several blazing suns began to rise from within his body, eventually hovering above his head, heart, and limbs. At that moment, Lin Dong's entire body was shrouded in the blinding light, and simultaneously, waves of power that even Wang Zhong found unsettling began to emanate from within Lin Dong. A deep shout suddenly echoed from within the blinding light. Lin Dong bent his body, grabbed the peak of the heavy prison peak with both hands, and, with a tremendous burst of strength, lifted the entire mountain. Then, like a tiny figure carrying a massive mountain on his shoulders, he swung the peak fiercely, smashing it down toward Wang Zhong. Lin Dong's attack was utterly terrifying. The heavy prison peak had expanded to a size of 100 meters, and compared to the mountain, his body appeared as small as an ant. Yet, it was this ant-like figure that lifted the massive peak. This scene caused not only Wang Zhong's eye to twitch, but also made Lin Fan and the others outside the hall tremble in shock. The weight of the heavy prison peak was such that even a peak creation realm expert wouldn't be able to budge it. Inside the grand hall, the air was filled with explosions as terrifying shockwaves spread out. The surrounding stone pillars were shattered into pieces by the force. At this moment, Lin Dong had clearly pushed his body to its absolute limits. Coupled with the immense size of the heavy prison peak, even a peak creation realm expert wouldn't dare to take this attack head-on. Wang Zhong, try to handle this mountain. Lin Dong's deep roar rang out amidst the fierce wind, filled with intense provocation. Do you really think you can defeat me? Hearing Lin Dong's roar, Wang Zhong's eyes grew cold. He bit the tip of his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of blood essence that splashed onto the blood demon Shura spear in front of him. Instantly, the spear's blood-red light surged, spreading out in all directions. The blood veins in Wang Zhong's eyes grew denser, and with a fierce shout, his hand seals began to rapidly change. As Wang Zhong's hand seals shifted, the blood-red light quickly gathered around the blood demon Shura spear. In just a moment, a massive, indistinct blood shadow, carrying a suffocating aura of blood, slowly materialized within the hall. As the blood shadow formed, Lin Dong swung the enormous mountain with a force that could only be described as destructive, smashing it toward Wang Zhong. The massive mountain swept across the grand hall, causing several stone pillars to explode from the terrifying residual force. The hall was immediately filled with dust and debris. Under the shadow of the mountain, the massive blood shadow surged forward, carrying with it an overwhelming stench of blood that made the hall feel like a vast sea of blood. The mountain and the blood shadow finally collided in the center of the hall with a thunderous crash. The deafening sound of the impact shook the entire grand hall, causing every stone pillar to explode under the violent energy shockwave. As this terrifying force swept through the hall, several small mirrors placed around the hall also exploded one after another. These mirrors were the devices that reflected the scene back to the glowing screens on the high platform outside. Now, they were all completely destroyed. As the mirrors shattered, the glowing screens on the high platform outside the hall flickered and then slowly faded away, much to the shock of Lin Fan and the others. What? Seeing this, Lin Fan and the others couldn't help but feel a surge of anxiety. They moved closer together, exchanging glances, their expressions darkening. Just when the battle had reached its most crucial moment, this happened. It was enough to make one want to cough up blood in frustration. Haha, everyone, please stay calm. The commotion caused by those two is too great. It can't be helped, Imo Jingtian said with a laugh, trying to reassure them. The hall was made of special materials, extremely sturdy, and capable of blocking spiritual probing. Now that this had happened, there was no way to go back inside and resolve the issue. They could only wait here patiently for the final outcome. Hearing Imo Jingtian's words, the group could only shake their heads helplessly. Lin Fan, however, frowned deeply, his eyes filled with tension. Not being able to witness the battle's outcome moment by moment was sheer torture for him. Haha, Lin Fan, there's no need to be so anxious. Perhaps in just a little while, the victor will be decided, and then we'll naturally know who won and who lost, Wang Lei said with a laugh, in stark contrast to Lin Fan's anxiety. He seemed supremely confident, as if victory was already in his grasp. In his view, even though Lin Dong had managed to exchange a few blows with Wang Zhong, the latter had yet to reveal his true trump card. Once he did, Lin Dong would surely be defeated. Lin Fan cast a cold glance at Wang Lei, who was laughing heartily, but he didn't bother to argue. Instead, he turned his attention to the vast plaza in front of the high platform. At one end of the plaza were 5 passageways connecting to the hall. The 5 people who emerged from these passageways would be the ones to secure the coveted spots. As for whether Lindong could be one of those 5, it would all depend on his own abilities. Inside the vast hall, dust and debris filled the air, and massive stone pillars lay toppled over, leaving the hall in a state of utter disarray. Amidst the swirling dust, Lin Dong stood atop the heavy prison peak, suspended in midair. His breathing was slightly heavy, and waves of powerful yuan power rippled around him as he kept his gaze fixed on the lingering dust below. There was no denying that Wang Zhong was indeed worthy of being called a peerless genius, someone even Lin Langtian couldn't easily contend with. Despite facing such terrifying attacks from Lin Dong earlier, Wang Zhong hadn't retreated a single step. Moreover, during their exchanges, Lin Dong could sense that although he had a slight upper hand, this small advantage wasn't enough to secure a decisive victory. The hall had fallen into a quiet stillness. As the dust slowly settled, Lin Dong's pupils narrowed slightly. In the center of the hall, a massive pit had appeared, and Wang Zhong's body was floating within it. A gigantic blood shadow enveloped him completely, and a thick, nauseating stench of blood permeated the air. Wang Zhong's hair, previously disheveled by the residual force of the terrifying clash, hung loosely. He slowly raised his head, his eyes now entirely blood-red, and stared at Lin Dong. His voice was low and chilling as he spoke. "Now I believe you truly have the power to challenge Lin Langtian, but even Lin Langtian wouldn't be able to defeat me today. I can not only challenge him, but I can also defeat him, just like I'll defeat you." Lindong sneered coldly. His hands formed a seal, and the heavy prison peak began to rotate with a rumbling sound. A black ring of light suddenly shot out from the peak, encompassing the area where Wang Zhong stood. "Gravity domain!" Lindong's deep shout echoed, and the ground within the black light ring emitted a series of cracking sounds. Even Wang Zhong's floating body was immediately dragged down to the ground, with his legs sinking deep into the floor. It was as if the gravity within the area covered by the black light ring had suddenly become extraordinarily strong. Indeed, this was the case. As Lindong became more familiar with the heavy prison peak, he had begun to uncover some of its hidden abilities, such as this gravity domain. Within this domain, gravity would increase dramatically, making it feel as though one were stuck in a quagmire. Those with insufficient strength wouldn't even be able to move, and even those who could resist the gravity would find their movements significantly slowed. Seeing Wang Zhong trapped within the gravity field, Lin Dong unleashed a barrage of fierce punches. Each punch produced a powerful shockwave that rained down on Wang Zhong like a torrential storm. Wang Zhong clearly wanted to dodge Lin Dong's attack, but as soon as he tried to move, he realized that his once nimble body had slowed to a crawl. By the time he managed to wrench one foot free from the floor, the other had already sunk back in. In this moment of delay, Lin Dong's onslaught descended upon Wang Zhong, the force of the blows sending him hurtling back like a cannonball. He skidded across the floor, carving a deep trench over 100 meters long, before crashing heavily into a stone pillar. After being suddenly subjected to such a relentless barrage, Wang Zhong's face turned exceptionally grim. He wiped a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth and tried to get back on his feet. But before he could fully stand, Lin Dong's hands formed another seal, and the black light ring reappeared, forcing Wang Zhong's body to sink again. "Anger me, and you'll regret it." The strange light ring clearly enraged Wang Zhong. His body trembled slightly, and the blood-red color in his eyes deepened, as if they were about to bleed. "Great desolation, ocean-splitting seal." Lindong's expression remained cold and indifferent to Wang Zhong's furious growls. His hands formed another seal, and a surge of powerful yuan power condensed behind him like a massive wave. Then, a light seal, several times stronger than any of his previous attacks, shot out at an incredible speed, hurtling toward Wang Zhong with tremendous force. As Wang Zhong faced the oncoming powerful attack, his body trembled slightly, and his expression grew terrifyingly grim. He suddenly gripped the blood demon Azura spear tightly, his palm brushing over its sharp tip, causing blood to gush out instantly. As the blood sprayed forth, a flood of crimson light erupted from the spear. However, unlike before, this time the blood light did not coalesce into a blood soul. Instead, it resembled countless blood worms, frantically surging into Wang Zhong's body. With the infusion of this bloodlight, Wang Zhong's aura suddenly surged at an astonishing rate under Lin Dong's heavy gaze. The bloodlight on his body seemed to coalesce into a strange, humanoid form, as if the blood soul within the blood demon Azura spear had fused with Wang Zhong himself. Wang Zhong, his eyes blood-red, suddenly raised his head and let out a low roar. A wave of blood-colored sound waves burst out, shattering the black ring of light in front of him. "Lindong, meet your death." After shattering the black ring, Wang Zhong's body began to liquefy, transforming into something resembling blood, which then wrapped around the blood demon Azura spear. A torrent of blood gushed out from the spear, turning the hall into what seemed like a sea of blood. Wang Zhong merged with the spear, and in an instant, the blood sea split apart. A blindingly crimson blood light, filled with an unstoppable, violent force, roared out. Cracks began to spread across the hall, and the entire specially constructed structure showed signs of collapsing. Lin Dong watched the blood light rushing towards him with extreme seriousness. From it, he could smell the thick scent of death. He understood that if he were struck, even he would be killed instantly. This move would be Wang Zhong's most terrifying assault. Taking a deep breath of the blood-tainted air, the primordial energy within Lin Dong's body erupted like a volcano. He knew this could be the final exchange between the two of them. If he could block it, he would win. If not, he would die. Vast waves of primordial energy surged around Lin Dong. He grasped the spirit containment lotus seat, and immediately, a pillar of pure energy shot skyward. Lin Dong then slowly extended his hand, pointing one finger forward at an incredibly slow pace. At that moment, all the primordial energy within Lin Dong's body surged out like a tidal wave. Then, a deep, resonant voice echoed through the blood-soaked hall. Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Finger, Four-Fingered Sky-Shattering Strike. As Lin Dong's finger slowly extended, the entire hall seemed to tremble. With each moment, the primordial energy within him rapidly diminished. Behind Lin Dong, the void seemed to tear open, revealing an ancient, massive finger that slowly emerged from the rift. This ancient finger, covered in mystical runes, pulsed with a terrifying power that seemed capable of shattering the heavens. Compared to the time when Lin Dong had used it against Lin Langtian, this fourth finger was not only more ancient and solid in form, but its power was also significantly greater. Such an attack was enough to completely annihilate a powerhouse at the great completion of the creation stage, and even those who had reached the peak of the creation stage would have to temporarily avoid its edge. As the massive ancient finger tore through the void, the overwhelming sea of blood, formed from Wang Zhong and the blood demon Azura Spear, surged forward with a fierce roar. A sharp blood-red light swept across the surface of the blood sea, sending waves of crimson ripples that corroded everything in their path into nothingness. Wang Zhong's attack was equally sharp and domineering. At this moment, both combatants had clearly pushed their techniques to the limit. The outcome, whether victory or defeat, would depend on their respective foundations. The golden light and the blood sea each occupied half of the grand hall, surging towards each other until they finally collided in midair like two meteors. A deafening explosion reverberated through the hall, as the once impenetrable ground cracked under the devastating impact, creating spiderweb-like fissures. All the stone pillars in the hall shattered into dust in an instant. At the moment when the ancient finger and the bloodlight collided, Lin Dong's body trembled violently, and his blood seemed to surge within him. His eyes were fixed on the bloodlight clashing with the ancient finger, from which a muffled groan echoed at the moment of impact. However, it had to be admitted that Wang Zhong was indeed immensely powerful. Even though Lin Dong had unleashed his fourth finger, it didn't result in a sweeping victory. Instead, it led to a stalemate, with Wang Zhong's desperate counterattack holding firm. The ancient finger and the bloodlight erupted in waves of terrifying energy, each attempting to shatter and corrode the other. Amidst this intense clash, a low, blood-soaked roar emerged from within the bloodlight. Wang Zhong's face appeared within the bloodlight, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at Lin Dong, filled with a savage bloodlust. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into a blood soul, exuding a fierce and feral aura. A hoarse, deep roar burst out from the bloodlight, and then the bloodlight surged wildly. Countless sharp blood-red spears shot out in all directions, and even the ancient finger was pushed back slightly under Wang Zhong's relentless counterattack. Suppress him. Lin Dong's eyes flashed with a ferocious glint as he watched Wang Zhong's vicious onslaught. With a thought, a dense devouring force spread out from within him. Instantly, the primordial energy within the hall howled as it poured into Lin Dong's body. He then unleashed a powerful punch, and the ancient finger erupted with golden light. The sounds of collisions echoed through the air as Wang Zhong's counterattack was once again forced into retreat. At this point, the battle had become a test of whose foundation was stronger. Although Wang Zhong's level was higher than Lin Dong's, the latter possessed the devouring ancestral symbol, giving him a recovery rate of primordial energy far beyond Wang Zhong's capability. As the ancient finger forced Wang Zhong into retreat, the blood sea erupted into pillars of blood, clearly indicating that Wang Zhong was severely injured. The bloodlight surged, revealing his slightly twisted face. His eyes turned scarlet as he let out a furious roar, With my blood and flesh, I will forge the blood demon. As his roar echoed, the blood sea provided by Qi Hongyan surged wildly, rushing towards the bloodlight that Wang Zhong had transformed into. In a matter of moments, it coalesced into a massive, blood-colored figure over 10 meters tall. This figure was far more formidable than the previous blood soul, even clad in a layer of solid blood armor that exuded a chilling, sinister aura. Lindong, I will use your blood to consecrate my blood spear. As soon as this blood-armored figure appeared, it reached down with a fierce grab, and from within the blood sea, a sharp blood spear shot out. Man and spear seemed to merge perfectly, and with a single thrust, the spear struck the ancient finger, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. The ancient finger was once again forced back by Wang Zhong's attack. A mere earth-level spirit treasure won't be enough to turn the tide in your favor. Faced with the unyielding Wang Zhong, Lindong's gaze grew even colder. He hadn't expected that even after unleashing the fourth finger of the Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Finger, Wang Zhong would still manage to hold out to this extent. Devour the heavens and earth. Lin Dong stamped his foot in the void, and a circle of black holes spread out behind him. In an instant, a terrifying devouring force howled forth. This time, Lin Dong did not suppress this devouring force in the slightest. As the devouring force spread out, the vast blood sea began to churn, transforming into waves of blood that were forcibly drawn into the black holes, immediately converting into surging primordial energy, which flowed into Lin Dong's body. What? Seeing Lin Dong forcibly devour the blood sea that had been condensed from his own primordial energy, the blood-armored figure trembled, his blood-red eyes filled with disbelief. The blood sea was imbued with a powerful corrosive force that could dissolve even a powerhouse at the great completion of the creation stage into blood water in an instant. Yet now, Lin Dong had absorbed the entire blood sea right before his eyes without showing the slightest discomfort. This left Wang Zhong utterly shocked. Lin Dong's expression remained cold as he felt the torrent of primordial energy coursing through him. His hands moved in a blur, forming seals, and in an instant, a powerful voice like thunder echoed through the grand hall. Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Finger. This time, Lin Dong almost simultaneously struck out 3 fingers, unleashing the first 3 styles of the Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Finger in an instant. 3 ancient giant fingers broke through the void, roaring forward in a sequence, each trailing the other. As the 3 terrifying giant fingers, each carrying incredible energy, roared towards him, even Wang Zhong's blood-red eyes showed a trace of shock. He could hardly believe that Lin Dong could unleash such powerful attacks in rapid succession. The 3 ancient fingers didn't strike directly at Wang Zhong, but instead slammed into the 4th finger from earlier. In an instant, dazzling golden light exploded as the 4 giant fingers aligned into a single line. The terrifying power of this combination skyrocketed geometrically within moments. As the 4 ancient fingers joined into one, the blood-armored figure that had just barely held on began to crack, bloodlines splitting open across its body. Wang Zhong's form was blasted backward like a cannonball, spraying blood along the way. His once ferocious aura rapidly weakened. Lin Dong's attack was simply too overpowering. In a single move, the outcome was decided. Outside the hall, on the high platform, the protective barriers surrounding the arena exploded one by one under the disbelieving gazes of the onlookers. The shockwaves from the battle inside had obliterated these protective measures, clearly indicating the intensity of the fight within. It should be over soon. On the platform, all eyes were fixed on the distant hall. Many clenched their fists involuntarily, knowing that the 5 who emerged from that hall would be the final victors in this seed selection. Lin Fan's face was tense. Even with his usual composure, he couldn't remain calm now. He understood the critical importance of this seed selection for the Lin Clan. They had already missed one opportunity to participate in the 100 Empire War. If they failed again, their strength would undoubtedly fall behind other forces, and their status in the Great Yin dynasty would decline, a scenario he could not accept. Lin Dong, Lin Langtian, if you wish to become the most revered members of the Lin Clan, it all depends on who among you can walk out of that hall. Lin Fan took a deep breath, trying to suppress the turmoil in his heart. Beside him, Wang Lei remained silent. Though a smile still lingered on his face, the way his hands occasionally clenched and relaxed revealed his tension. In contrast, Wang Yin appeared full of confidence, as always. He had unwavering faith in Wang Zhong's strength, believing that his brother would triumph. His gaze was fierce as he stared at the hall, already imagining the satisfaction he would feel upon witnessing Lin Dong's inevitable defeat. Amidst the tense anticipation on the high platform, after several minutes of silence, a faint creaking sound suddenly echoed from the quiet hall. The tightly shut purple-gold doors slowly began to open,